Gaza's civil defense agency says at least 50 people have been killed as Israeli forces resumed their offensive in defiance of a joint warning from several Western nations to stop bombardment and to increase the flow of aid into Gaza. Those are the scenes in Deir el-Balah and Gaza City in the north. Today's strikes forcing thousands of Palestinians in southern Khan Yunis to flee their homes. That says the Israeli Prime Minister warned of plans to take complete control of the enclave. The Qatari Prime Minister saying attacks are eroding any hope for peace, with ceasefire negotiations in Doha this week hitting an impasse as mediators struggle to bridge a, quote, fundamental gap. Meanwhile, the United Nations says Israel has allowed 100 trucks carrying essential supplies into Gaza. Aid trickling in for the first time in more than 2 months yesterday, with the blockade sparking severe shortages in food and medicine. And more, Trent Murray joins us live from Tel Aviv. Trent, we're hearing that Israel's resumption of hostilities in Gaza having an impact on any negotiations for a ceasefire.
Yeah, that's right, Wei Su. By all accounts, those ceasefire negotiations have reached a pretty stubborn stalemate there in Doha. We're getting some insights into the state of play with those talks. Those comments from Qatar's Prime Minister, I think, quite instructive given the role that Doha is playing in all of this, trying to bridge the gaps. He has said that Israel's renewed attacks in Gaza over recent days is undermining any chance of peace. He also spoke about some of the irreconcilable differences between Hamas and Israel, saying that the latest talks just aren't getting anywhere yet because there is a fundamental gap between the two parties. Now, this comes as some media reports here in Israel suggest that the government of Benjamin Netanyahu is considering withdrawing those negotiators from Doha back here to Tel Aviv to then basically re-look at the current framework and where things stand. We don't have an official confirmation of that yet from the Prime Minister's office, but I think that would represent a significant step back in terms of where things are diplomatically, at least. And it does come as Israel does face quite unprecedented pressure, I think it's fair to say now, from a number of European countries around its current actions in Gaza. We've seen an extraordinarily strong statement from Canada, France and the United Kingdom calling for an immediate resumption of aid on a large scale into Gaza, as well as efforts to try and broker ceasefire negotiations. But certainly the signals that we are getting from Doha right now is that the two sides are not anywhere closer to reaching a ceasefire than they have been in recent days.
Now, Trent, in all these months, whenever aid has been allowed back into Gaza, constantly there's the accusation that this aid is nowhere near enough. And this time around, Israel has made it very clear it's only allowing minimal aid in. What's the gap like in terms of what is available and what is actually needed for aid in Gaza?
Well, the latest tally that we have from the Israeli side is just 5 trucks have entered Gaza in the past 24 hours. That number may shift later in the day, but that's the latest number we're being told. And those were trucks with baby formula, prioritising the needs of infants in Gaza. It, of course, comes as the United Nations continues to warn about the impact that this almost 3-month blockade has had now on children in Gaza. There's some estimates that around 14,000 babies and infants are in need of immediate food and sustenance. One would imagine 5 trucks is just not going to be able to support that. So whilst the Israelis are saying that this limited aid is getting in, sort of all of the expert accounts on the ground from both the UN and independent charities and aid organisations is that much more aid needs to get into Gaza in order to try and backfill the almost 3-month blockade right now. The latest estimates that we continue to be told is around 500,000 people are at risk of starvation immediately. So I would imagine in the coming hours and days, those international calls are going to grow on Israel to provide a lot more than trucks that could be counted with fingers, Wei Su.
Oh, thanks, Trent Murray there live for us from Tel Aviv.